Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 337 at scavengerlife.com.
Hello, Trash Elves. So we have passed the point of no return. Up until this point, if we wanted to quit eBay, it would just be a matter of, shutting down our eBay store, taking everything we have and, selling it or giving it to a thrift store. And basically our life would be just as if it's always been. No big deal. But see, we just built a 40-foot by 24-foot steel building behind our house for the specific purpose of storing stuff for eBay.
Yep.
So if we wanted to quit eBay, we now have a gigantic building behind our house that, I don't collect cars,
Don't collect lawnmowers.
I don't know what this thing would be for. So we have really pulled the trigger on this. And we've been talking about this for the past
long time.
Year or so. It's been a year since we poured a concrete slab.
But we talked about it a year before that.
Right.
Even.
I think that's kind of our MO, is like we kind of slowly back into a lot of things. We start having ideas, we talk about it, we research it, and we take a little while to pull the trigger just because, it's a lot of money. And I'll talk about that in a second. But we've been wanting to have a building for a while. Just as thrifty people, we were like, should we do it? Do we really need this thing? And we decided, instead of having all of our stuff kind of spread out over multiple places, it's within a 10-mile radius. Did we want to have all the stuff in one place and organized? And the answer was yes.
Yes, the answer was yes.
So let me just give the quick rundown.
Yeah.
So a year ago, we decided to do this, and we hired a guy we know who does excavating work.
Right.
And, we have an acre of land behind our home in our home office, and we're like, perfect place. And, it looks straight. It's like it's ready to go.
It looks level is what you're saying, yeah.
And he comes over, and he's a he's a pro, and he just eyeballs it, and he's like, one side I need to raise up by almost 4 feet. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's
We're
flat.
like, what are you...
He's
crazy.
Like, nope, I can tell. And he did the measurements, and he was right. So he had to bring probably 4 dump truck loads full of filled dirt and raise up its one side and make it's completely a level site now.
Yep.
And then we know another guy that does concrete work, and he came and put in a concrete slab. Because we didn't just want to put it on the dirt. We could have done that. But
you could have done that, and it would have been cheaper, but also you still have to pay for the excavation work. So you're like, might as well.
Yeah. So all of that was, I don't know, $10,000, $12,000. I mean,
it was about $12,000.
It wasn't cheap, and we were like, whoa.
We haven't even bought the building yet.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the cost of the whole thing. And so we actually sat on it for a year. With just this concrete pad out there. And... number one, we were renovating a rental, and that was where all of our cash was going into. And the other was, we just weren't sure what to do. I mean, now that we had a concrete slab, we could have built a house on that thing. It's essentially...
Well, the concrete slab it's 40 by 24. That's 960 square feet.
Right.
That's the size of our house.
And we talked on the podcast about, should we build a stick building, which means a lumber, kind of like a house.
Basically a house. Or
should we build a metal building where, guys come, it's like a kit and they put it together.
Right.
And
it's like a big garage.
We were really, for a while there, I was like, let's go 2 stories. Let's have a stick building where if we did stop doing eBay, we could turn it into like a rental home, you know?
Well, I actually think that I was the one with that original idea, because I was looking at the slab and I was like, if this were 2 stories and it were just for storage, it would be huge.
Right.
And it would be a large house.
Yeah.
It's bigger than our house.
Right. If we're going to go through the expense of doing a single story, why not do a double story? Why not double it?
But you double the size, you double the price.
Well, so we actually called a local guy, a contractor, and he came out and he gave us a bid on it, and he said it would be $50-some thousand to build this 2-story
basically
house,
raw house
building that we would want. And that's just raw. That's not electric, plumbing, none of that stuff.
It's just a raw building.
Then we were just like, do we really need that much storage? $50,000, like we could do a lot with that. We could buy a whole other house for that and actually turn it into a rental. So when we were in Norway,
yes,
we finally decided, let's just get the metal building. You can, some people know how it just works. There are these companies, you just go online and you just order online and they have kits.
Well, and the advantage of the metal building was this. So the stick frame building, it cost more, and it would take months and months and months, and we'd have to pay in cash. With the metal building, it would take 2 days to put it up, and you could put it on your credit card.
Right.
And we were like,
yeah, I mean,
that works.
We're not really credit card people, but, it is nice having the ability just to get something done. So we put that on there, and then we'll just pay it off, as fast as possible. So they came on Thursday
afternoon at 2:00.
They worked till like 8:00 at night into the dark, and then they came the next day and spent that whole day, and now it's up. And if you go on our website, scavengerlife.com, and you can see photos of it. I mean, we had measured out on the ground how big its 40 by 24 its foot is, but just hearing it, I was like, how big? It's huge.
It's huge.
At the same time, I'm like, it could even.
It's not big enough.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to fill this place.
Well, I think we're going to be efficient. Yeah. I think we're going to try to really be efficient with what's
And we were talking on the its forum. Someone else is having his same kind of a metal building done, I think, as we speak.
Same week, yeah.
And we were talking about, septic and water and power, and we're going to get power in it.
Yeah.
So that's our next step. I got an electric guy coming out who's going to pull power from our house. And
an electrician.
But, yeah, like, electric guy is better.
Someone electric.
But with a water and septic, it becomes a whole thing.
Well, it's like getting that means you need massive inspections from your county, depending on where
even
you
if you
are.
say, so let's cut out the county.
Okay.
So let's say you don't need any inspections from the county, because that does add a layer of complication. But why don't we just take them out?
It's money.
I mean, the thing is, this building is downstream from our home, so you'd either have to figure out some way to pump your sewage up to your thing, or build a whole new septic,
which is crazy expensive.
Yeah. So anyway, we decided not to do that since it's just a storage building.
We wanted to be quicker about it. We were like, let's get a storage building by the end of the year. That's what we want. We want to start writing it off as a business expense for next year.
Yep. Well, also we want it. At some point, you just have to get it done. And so we get it done. I mean, we don't even need electric in there really, but we might as well.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
It would be nice to get the electric before we start putting things in there. That's what you said. You're like, I am like, let's move it in. Everything
as soon as it was done that night, I was like, let's start filling it up tomorrow.
You're like, let's put some lights in there.
Let's wait a couple weeks because, we don't want to, make it harder for guys to move around and run power. So
Right.
And then one thing we did, if anyone ever chooses to buy a metal building online, they had an option to pay extra to have it insulated. And we actually paid $2,000 extra.
For the insulation.
Because, it's a big place. So they said they would insulate the walls and the
roof.
A roof, like it'd be everything. The problem is they come, and it's not really insulation. They call it double bubble.
It's bubble wrap, essentially.
And if you Google it, it's like a foil on one side and then double bubble. It's like bubble wrap.
Right.
Very thin. The good thing is they did a good job. They really got it tight.
Yeah.
I would say it's more of a vapor barrier, which I guess is good. So
it's kind of like
the building's not going to sweat. But if I were to do it again, I don't know if I would have chosen that. There is enough space in the wall where you could put actual R13
insulation. You could
whatever.
Do it, yeah.
It would still be expensive. I mean, I don't think it'd be any cheaper.
Right.
Because it's a huge place. So if you were to pay someone to insulate that place, it would be more than $2,000. If you were to do it yourself, it would still be expensive to buy all of that, and it'd be a pain in the butt. But,
well, that was part of it where we were like, well, maybe we can pay for the building and then insulate it afterwards. And we're like, even if you paid someone to insulate it, it's going to cost the same amount.
And once we get the shelves in there, I'm not going to want to pull the shelves off the walls and let's do whatever we're going to do now.
Right.
get our stuff in there, and then like that's how it is till I'm dead.
Well, my thought too was also, I was looking at the way the building was built, and I'm like, we could buy those like foam panels and insulate it, but then we're like, it's a storage building. Like that's, you keep the rain out, you keep the sun off of everything, and you're like, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to? I mean,
I'm not sleeping out there.
Right. We have plenty of buildings right now that we store stuff, and it's all the hard goods that are not insulated at all.
Yeah.
They're just like barns, and and it's fine. So this is going to be great. The good thing is it's not airtight, but it's pretty tight. Like there's no water going to get in. I'm sure there'll be some bugs, but there are very few places for bugs to get in. I mean, we're going to actually get some caulk and seal up any of the holes we
edges
see,
or whatever.
So it's great. I mean, and these guys who did it were super awesome and friendly.
They were great. I mean, we were joking around at the end when we, signed the paperwork, and we were like, "Can we hire you for a bunch of other jobs?" Because they just worked their butts off, and they were really efficient.
And then we were deciding about shelves. We have like a carpenter friend that could come over and we could like buy a bunch of 2x4s and plywood and build a wood shelves. That's actually what we've done in other buildings.
Yeah.
So they're kind of custom to the size. Right. And, and those are super heavy weight.
Yeah.
But this is such a big building. It would be so much wood. It would be a lot of work. And actually, I just went on Lowe's, and they sell these steel shelves.
Kind of like industrial, like garage shelves.
Supposedly it says that they can hold 2,000 pounds a shelf.
It's kind of crazy.
So, and these are freestanding, and it looks real easy to put together. So actually, they, because I guess it's Black Friday, Christmas time.
Oh, stuff was on
They
sale.
already had them off at 10% off.
Right.
And then we found a Lowe's 10% off.
I had a coupon,
online.
yeah.
So we got another 10% off. So they were like $150 each. We bought 10 of them, and they're going to deliver them, which is
basically
awesome,
the 20% off paid for the sales tax and the delivery.
Right.
So that was great.
And there's basically 4 shelves, and we can fit 3 bins on each shelf. So I'm thinking we can put 12 bins on every one of those.
Set of shelves.
We bought 10 of them, so it's 120 bins. I mean, that gets us, and that only fills not even half of the building. So
that fills about a quarter of the building.
So that's a good start,
And, part of it too is we're going to be going through our inventory literally item by item, and hopefully we're going to be like, put this on sale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The older stuff, and
that's
so you're
definitely
gonna...
what we talk about. Yeah, we talk about also we'll build an inventory system, and people have given us really great advice of how to build this inventory system.
Yeah.
But just where bins are unnumbered, or you have a grid on the shelves.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's which we'll choose, but then in the item itself, if you make a note of where that item is.
On eBay, yeah.
So that way, if we ever had our helper pack while we were gone,
she'd know how to find
she should
stuff.
be able to find it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, are we really going to go through, 7,000 items? We'll see. That's
let's not say 7,000, because a lot of our clothes and shoes are already in an inventory system, in quotes, in a different building. So it's a fraction, it's a fraction of our. It might be half. It might be less than half.
But honestly, even with clothes, I feel like we would have to build an inventory for that too.
Because she's got to find that stuff.
In this bin is where this kind of shoe is.
Right.
Because
I think that's more about labeling, because I don't have them labeled because I have them all memorized. But I would have to be like, these are women's pumps, black.
Yep.
So she'd be like, that's what that is,
But the good thing is, if we build a system, anything new that we put in our store, those would immediately go into this new inventory thing, and then we can just be working on the old stuff as we go.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just excited to get stuff number one, all in one place,
Yep.
because I do drive to the other location if I have to ship something.
We have a storage building in town, or a storage
We
shed.
have a storage building
that,
in town.
that we rent.
Our
and-
house is filled with stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we just listed this great mid-century modern chair. It's over in the corner right there.
With the sheet on it, and our cat sleeps on
Our
it.
cat
you know?
sleeps on it. It's covered, like you said, but it's stuff like that where I'm like, I just want my house to be like where we live.
Yeah.
Actually, that was a huge part of why we wanted a storage building, because
Yeah.
we were like, we
Well-
just want to have our house back.
I mean, I've never let storage stop us from buying
Right.
anything we think we could sell.
Yeah.
But it's really made us kind of be very, it's clever about how to
Yeah.
store stuff. Now we can buy anything we want, and it's
Right.
really easy to get to it. On one side are two roll-up doors, so I can
Roll-up
just
garage
back
doors,
my
yeah.
truck right into the building and unload whatever,
Yep.
furniture,
It's awesome.
wood. I mean,
And then on the other side is like a regular door, like an exterior door that
Yeah.
you can enter and like get, that it's right next to my like office building, so you can just kind of walk out to there,
Yep.
which is so great. I can't
know.
wait till it's all there.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's really nice.
But I mean, this just brings up a larger thing about if you're running an eBay/Amazon business, but especially eBay, because eBay, a lot of it is thinking of like small home like store. you
Yeah.
know? Like Amazon, you automatically think of I've got a warehouse,
Yeah.
I got employees. I mean, but with eBay, that's the idea that it's kind of built for people just working out of an extra
Yeah, a bedroom or
a room in their house or their its basement, and that's how we've been up until
Yeah.
now. I mean, we've been very frugal, and if you think of investing in our own business, like we bought, if you remember early days, like a camera.
Yeah.
We invested in that, and lights when we had lights. We would buy plastic storage containers.
yeah, those
you know?
plastic bins.
When our inventory started to get bigger, we invested in taking old its buildings and turning them into a storage shed.
Right, on our other property.
Yeah, like it's fixing doors and like just
building shelves.
Building shelves.
Yeah, making them storage.
We've bought it's printers, like a
Yep.
thermal printer.
Yep. That's pretty small stuff, though.
Yeah. Computer. I mean, the good thing is we would need a computer for our other kind of work anyway. But we do put money into a
Computer, yeah.
computer. But up until now, since 2008, it's been almost a decade. We've been able to run a pretty successful eBay store,
Right.
without really investing a lot of upfront cash.
Yeah.
I think that's why I love eBay.
Yeah.
If you're willing to be real funky and
Right.
figure it out, if you can do that.
You can be scrappy.
This is the first
that's what it is.
big investment that we've ever made.
And it took us a long time, like you
Yeah.
said, because we knew it would cost a lot of money and we knew it was a commitment. I mean, we're taking up a huge chunk of our back lot. And that means, in the future, you're kind of saying like, hey, if we wanted to split this lot off and sell it, there's a building on it, which makes it more valuable, but someone can't like just build whatever they want there later, which is
Yeah.
fine. And I also think, I don't think we wouldn't break that lot off. If we ever sold our property, it would all be together. But that brings up the property value, I think, the more you have like storage
Yeah.
and it's on a concrete slab, it's
if
not
that
just...
makes you feel better. Oh.
I think so.
No, you're right. I mean, look,
Anytime I see
if we were to
buildings
ever-
for sale, I'm like,
if we were to ever sell our property,
which we probably won't.
it would be very attractive to some guy who's retired and he's like, that's going to be my workshop, and he's got his like 57 Mustang in there with like up on blocks and he's working on it, with all of his tools. It'd be great,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about eBay. A couple things that we kind of it was a kind of a big deal a day ago. We got a message from eBay where they're like, one of your items had the wrong cost to
The postage.
ship it. Yeah, the
Right.
postage had been wrong, so we've changed it
For you.
This is the first time I've ever seen anything as they had emailed us, and
Right.
I remember hearing about this when this fall update came.
Yeah.
That they were going to do something in this way.
Right. So the idea is that the Postal Service is going to check supposedly every item and see if you underpaid or overpaid.
And in the past, it's all been done by hand.
Right.
So every so often, I'm sure if any of you have mailed off enough stuff, maybe once in a while, they would either send a package back or you would get a complaint from a buyer that said they had to pay extra
postage due
when it got sent to them because maybe you had
you're
accidentally
off by an ounce and you're up. Yeah.
Right. And so it was a real pain in the butt. And so now they have an automated way to do this. I guess the post office is investing in these computer
like scan
robot things
right,
where they're now doing it all by automation.
Which makes sense.
And then if they scan something that was under a weight or overweight, they then automatically work with eBay to pull money out of your account. I mean, they say they'll put money in your account too.
I doubt that's going to happen.
For the most point, it's going to be underpaid. So we actually had 2 of these.
Yeah.
And one of them was from October 2nd, and one was from the end of November. So it's actually been going on for a while now.
And I think, so we got a message from eBay like yesterday about this most recent one. But in October, I never saw a message.
Right.
So that was a little bit new to me. But so the issue was my weight was off. So the problem is this. Let's say you have a first class package that's £1. You're like, great, awesome. It's £1. Pay for that. And maybe the post office doesn't agree with that. And they're like, you're actually £1, 1 ounce.
Right.
That's actually £2, and that bumps it up to priority. So that's what they said happened to me.
Well, that's the interesting thing. So they don't say, okay, we'll make this like a parcel. They're like, no, we're going to make it priority. So actually, we had a pair of shoes that they said was over £1. They charged us an extra $7.67. And it happened on a pair of pants, too. So that's why it really behooves people, including us, to make sure we're not... Like, I guess if you're really close...
You gotta round up.
You've got to round up because if you round up, you're going to pay more, but the amount we'll pay is going to be under what they charge you. Because I don't think they're charging you, it's with the discount. I think they're charging you with the...
Full retail.
Retail prices.
Yeah, exactly. So...
I mean, the good thing is we like the post office and we want it to succeed.
Right.
And we've talked before about it's sellers who we've seen, they'll send...
Look, I got an 8-pound package one time of poly mailers from California, and the person sent it first class mail 4 ounces because they were like, no one's going to check, you know?
Yeah, and maybe if he sends, out of every 100 he sends of those, he gets caught a single time. It's no big deal. So I guess this is going to start to keep everyone honest and just the way it is. And on the page that eBay sends it you to, they say if you have a problem, they say don't contact us, contact the post office.
Yeah,
and they give you a phone number and a website, and they say that they will get back to you in 2 weeks. I don't know what could be said. I mean, it's kind of like he said, she said, and it's like, the item's gone. There's no way to argue it. So
The good thing about this, I will say, is, well, number one, the post office gets the amount they're due, which is good. But also, it does mean that items are not going to get shipped back to you and, be late. And
that's their argument is that...
And it's not... Your customers aren't going to be like, yo, I owe like $4 on this, but I already paid shipping. And, you're like...
I would love... I doubt they'll share this info, but I would love for the post office, after this has been implemented for like a while, to give stats. Like...
How many people...
How much more are they collecting now that they're keeping people honest? Because people probably... ballpark, they're like, oh, it's probably £1, and but now if there's a computer or a robot thing that's scanning,
it just knows for sure. Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, changes everybody. Okay, and as far as eBay this week, we had a decent week, but it was just felt slow. It just felt like a normal week. And again, we said it on a podcast several weeks ago. For us, holidays are often just another week, and we just have to remind ourselves of that, because I think when everyone's talking about holidays and, as media is talking about Black Friday, there's just this expectation we should be selling crazy amounts of stuff, and that doesn't happen for us on a normal basis, and we just have to set our expectations correctly. This was a good week for us, but we didn't have doorbuster sales.
Well, it's not the same stuff. And I also feel like after Thanksgiving, a lot of people shop at retail stores and they're like shopped out. I think that honestly, I think that's why sales slow down. But they do pick up. It was a slow week, but by the end of the week it picked up.
I don't understand. Isn't there some mom out there that wants to buy like an antique silver plate tea set for their 10-year-old kid? Why wouldn't our stuff be like...
We sold that this week. That's under things we sold. So don't joke. Somebody bought it for somebody.
Yeah. Okay, so let's actually talk about our numbers. So we sold 58 items in our main store.
Okay, yeah.
And we made about $1,900. Which again
is that's not bad. It felt so slow though.
I know, but then we did have some good days, and anyway, so that's totally good. Yeah, so good. Average price was $31.84. So kind of bread and butter stuff. We sold a one thing on Bonanza, and in our second store we sold 12 items for a total of about $230.
Not bad.
That little store, it's
just chugging along.
A little store that could, We still have 1,034 items in that store. It's like it just keeps.
I want to get down to 1,000 because that's when listings are free. Like I'm paying for those extra 34 listings.
Yeah, the stores on eBay, you go from. What is it?
It's $250 for a basic.
Then it's premium store.
Then it's premium, and you get 1,000 listings, and then it's anchor, and you get 10,000.
Right
listings.
There's no store in
between the
so
a 5,000.
That's why we stopped putting things in this second store, because we don't want to go to an anchor store where we want to put 10,000 items in there. So we don't want to go over 1,000, so that's why.
So we haven't been listing there.
Autopilot store.
Exactly.
It's fine.
And it's fine.
Things we sold. We'll just mention a couple things. The highest price were something we got at the auction.
Yes.
I bought a table for $250.
Yeah.
Which I remember. I beat the one person there. She buys everything.
Yeah.
And it's when I bought it, people were like, "Whoa,
you outbid her!"
Whoa! But anyway, this one thing, there were these antique candle holders made out of sword handles.
Yeah.
Anyway, we actually put them on auction. We're doing a little experiment.
Yeah.
Because we were like, these are so weird. We don't know what to price these at. And they sold for $218.
$218. So I was happy with that. That paid for most of the table. Yeah. Let's hope the rest of the table sells.
Yeah. And then we just sold, shoes.
Just
sweaters. Belts, scarves,
basic items.
We did sell a Copco.
Yes.
And Copco's a good brand if anyone hasn't heard of it. And it's like a
paella pan.
Yeah,
that's what they call it.
It's like a Dutch oven kind of pan. It sold for $120.
It's not a Dutch oven at all. It's
exactly.
It's a cast iron paella dish.
People are like, paella. It's like a casserole dish for anyone that doesn't know what paella is.
If you don't know what paella is, you better find out. That sold for how much? $100?
Almost $120.
Almost $120.
And I bought that table for $100. So that one piece paid for that whole table.
And that table had a lot of Copco, vintage avocado green.
Yeah. It's
cast iron. Yeah, beautiful. So that was a little bit pricey, but so that one piece paid for the table.
See, that saved my butt. I was like, oh no, I paid too much. But hey, there you go.
You gotta experiment.
Yep.
We did sell a silver-plated tea coffee set, like you were joking. That sold for $50, and that was one of those items. It sold for $50.
Yep.
That again, you always say you would have like left it behind because you're
It
like,
just
this
looks
is
just
junky.
like
It's all tarnished.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I didn't want to polish
who
them.
cares about this?
But people look for that
Yep.
stuff. That silver plate kind of like looks like it's from the early 1900s. It wasn't. It was modern.
I'm just
version
like,
of
do
that,
people
but-
actually
do they use it?
like have a little tea parties, or is
Somebody
it
must.
simply just to put on a shelf so it looks really cool? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
then we sold. I bought these at an auction a while ago, probably a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
These like it's leather bound. They're big and they have all these blank pages. It's like
Yeah.
an art
It's
sketchbook.
like a sketchbook kind of
But
thing.
a leather on front is like hand tooled, and they have these like
Stones, like chakra stones.
and we've had them for a long time. No one has been doing anything, so I changed the name of it. And this is a good example of like we normally will list it, forget
it.
This is one of those times. There's exceptions to every rule. Where I was like, why aren't these things being sold? So I changed the title where I called them Vampire Spell Books.
Because nobody called them that. Because I've seen other people.
Because anyone that knows that a movie Evil Dead, there's a book, and it's got like a little face on it.
What's it called? The Necronomicon?
Yeah,
Is that what
the
it is?
Necronomicon.
I can't believe I
it
know
looks
that.
kind of like that, where
Well, it doesn't have, like-
leather is like tooled and it's like dark and it looks
It
like
looks like
ancient.
yeah, exactly.
So I don't know if changing it to Vampire Spell Book helped.
But it did sell.
happened to sell it within a month of me changing that. So then it's this week. We did sell a lot of things where we were just so psyched about them just to have them gone.
It doesn't even matter
I was
the
just
price.
so happy. I was just like, I can't believe that thing finally sold. So-
One of them was an actual vintage Cupid doll. If you look it up, they're like collectible things. But it was in such bad shape that we called it like the zombie apocalypse Cupid doll.
Yeah.
And it sold. It sold for $9.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you're like, it's just so cool and weird. And also, why did somebody buy this?
Well, it's also a good example of, when we go to auctions
Yeah.
and you get these big boxes of stuff, that's the kind of stuff where you're like, okay, I paid for it. I
What do I
have
do
it.
with it?
Do I just donate it or do we sell it? And for the most part, and I don't know if we should fight this. We're like, we have to list,
we have to list
everything.
everything. Everything pays for everything.
Everything always sells eventually.
Yeah.
But you're like, was it really worth all that for $9? It's more of just like a challenge to ourselves.
It's more. It's a challenge, and also you're like, when I was packing that thing, I was like, why did somebody buy this?
Yeah.
I have no clue, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, so it's this week we just did a little bit of scavenging. I mean, now that we have this building, we're kind of on like, let's save our money kind of mode and pay off this credit card so we can pay this building off. But we just mainly got a lot of bread and butter stuff.
basic scavenging,
Jackets, I mean.
pants,
And again, I'm very aware of the things I say where I'm like, let's only get like high dollar items. But it's like other people emailed me. It's like, you got to buy what's available. And,
Right.
To buy only high dollar item means that, we have to, like, as Christine has told me, you got to go into those urban areas, only hit estate sales and the fancier auctions.
and spend money.
And just buy up. And
Right,
it's just, I feel like we're getting there, Like, I feel like it's kind of like I said, how we say we want to do something and it takes a couple of years to actually implement that plan.
Yeah.
I feel like the high dollar sale is going to be implemented in the next couple of years. Like it's
It's going to take a little
like
bit.
it's on the
yeah.
horizon. Like we get our inventory set up
Yeah.
and then we can, get a helper to help us ship stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's hard sometimes to just turn on a dime,
Yeah, it is. I mean, like with our employee,
Yeah.
it took us a while to feel like we needed to hire someone.
Yep.
We talked about it for a long time. It's the
Yep.
same thing.
Oh, and I do want to say, we are looking for. I'd be interested if anyone wants to come on the its forum. If you have a warehouse or a storage building that you want to show off and brag on,
Yeah.
come to the forum and just post a link.
Yeah.
Of a photo or photos. I would love to see photos of how people have it organized.
Right.
Like it'll be warehouse porn. you
Yeah,
know?
basically.
Not actual human pornography, but warehouse pornography.
Yeah, exactly.
Show us at your buildings,
Yeah, I would love to see.
I would love people to talk about, how they're storing stuff as soon as they got it all in one place.
And some of the conversation around storage buildings that was happening this week was also talking about that same dilemma of, should I build a stick building that could be a house and part of it's a house? Or, I feel like other people are having that same question.
Well, it was good when people were talking about it because we started to go through how much putting in water and septic and to, really start building a real building is the cost. Even if you're doing a lot of the work on your own, it really just start adding a lot of money. Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's awesome if you have a building with like showers and toilets.
Yeah,
and,
it's amazing.
Has HVAC in it. But yeah, it's a lot of money. Okay, customer issues. We didn't really have any this week.
I had some clothing returns, but they were all for fit. People were like, this skirt doesn't fit.
Yeah. Fine.
People send it back. It's no big deal.
It is what it is.
I also just I've said this before, some lady with a jacket was like, this jacket doesn't fit. And you're like, cool, send it back. They never send it back. And I just have it closed. I feel like that happens more often than people actually sending things back.
So that's why when people come on the forum and they're like, this person wants to return this, what do I say? We always just say...
just accept it.
Either if they open a case, accept its return, or if they don't open a case, just say, return it. And then they have to take those steps to actually send it back to you, which it's totally cool if they do.
Yeah.
But like you said, I would say... I don't even know a number.
The
40% of people don't send it back just because it's either too much hassle for them, or they
forget about it.
They actually do like it. I don't know.
Or they think it's like, honestly, I think a lot of people think it's like Amazon. Amazon, you have 45 days to mail it back once you open the return. On eBay, it's 5 days.
If you call, right?
If you call, you have to call on the 6th. Right. Business day.
If you don't call, how long is it? Is it
they have 30 days?
30 days.
Yeah.
It's so weird that eBay. I'm glad they do it because it's good for us, but it's really helpful. Why does eBay have a system where if the seller doesn't do anything, the buyer has 30 days, but all the seller has to do is call and close the case, and eBay will do that?
I know, it's so weird.
I think it's good, actually.
It's great.
It's like if you are actually going to do this, it's got to get shipped. It's within 5 business days. It's a week. Now. Why give someone 30 days, 30 business days to send something back?
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's one of those things of the customer's always right, and hey, that's the Wild West.
Yeah,
Wild West. Things we learned in the forum. I don't know. It's kind of quiet in the forums this week.
I just liked... yeah, right.
All right, what our coming week will be like. We haven't done this in a while, but our coming week is mainly listing.
Listing, yep. We have a lot of stuff to list.
And working to get electric into that building.
Yep.
I need to get that electric guy to come out, the electric man, to come out and give us a price on how much this is going to be.
And the great thing is, it's super basic. It's like outlets, lights.
Yeah.
Well, we have to run the electric over there.
That's the hard part. The hard part is we have to dig a trench from one building to this
and it's
next
not
building.
far, but that has to get done.
It's not far, but it's through woods. It's not like it's like grassland.
Yeah, it's like there's
all
some trees.
Doable.
Yeah,
it's
you're
all
right.
fine. It's all fine. It's just
we just want to know the price.
It's just a thing. Okay, let's answer any questions that people sent in.
You can call us on our voicemail line at 24 hours a day. And the phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey there, this is Jennifer from Vancouver, Washington, and I was just listening to your podcast, I believe it was from this week, and you guys were saying that you were having a problem with your guaranteed delivery items not showing up as guaranteed delivery on eBay. I, too, was having this terrible issue. 80 to 90% of my items are first-class shippers, and for me, these were not showing up. So I don't know how many first-class items you guys have, but I must have talked to 4 or 5 eBay customer service, including concierge, no one was able to figure out why my items weren't showing up. So I actually did research on my own, and I compared myself to similar items and what was different in those other listings versus mine. And it was indeed the first class shipping. First class shipping is not considered an expedited shipping service. It's considered a standard. So all of my first class listings were not showing up. So to get around this, one of my competitors, I noticed, she put first class shipping and priority mail options in her listing. Again, I don't know how many first class items you guys have, or if this is the issue you're having with your items not showing up as guaranteed delivery, but I thought that this might be able to help others, as it was really frustrating because it definitely gives you a good competitive advantage. Love your guys' blog and podcast, and keep up the great work. Take care.
Yes, you need to put a faster shipping option in. Real quick though, it's location based. So if someone in the state next to you, they might see first class as able to get there in 3 days. And priority will definitely show it. So our process was, we're adding priority to every single listing. I went through and added it through the bulk lister to every single listing. Even my first class, even my books, even my big bulky items. I'm like, if someone wants to pay priority and get it there in, guaranteed 3 days, that's fine. After that process, we still weren't seeing a change in our numbers. So it wasn't the issue that, priority wasn't an option. It was just an issue within eBay. So I just think they're working out the bugs.
Hi, guys. It's Kenny from St. Louis. I was calling about your podcast today. Loved it as usual. And I called a couple weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, with talking about auctions. And some of the things you've been going through these last few weeks, I think I kind of explained myself badly, and it might have been helpful the way I do it. So I thought I'd give it another try. And what I thought I'd kind of explain badly is what I do with auctions is I do the same thing you do with the prices. When I can research something properly and I know where it falls, I set buy it now and I forget about it and throw it on the shelf. But what I run into when I'm working auctions is I look for items that I, don't know, or they're unusual or weird or whatever. So when I use auctions is two different times when there's no comparables that I can find, which often comes up, more often than you think, and that's something like you've experienced now with the jacket. There was no comparable to compare it to, so you really didn't know what the upper end was. And the other time that I use it is when I don't have the time or it's too difficult to do the research. So if I'm faced with a really big collection of things and I can't research each one of them, or in the case like you guys had where, the Swedish wine flutes, it's something maybe that would have been too difficult to look up, although you said they were labeled. But anything that you can't find, white, clear glass or cut glass is often like that. It's difficult to look it up, or patterned glass. So that's when I tend to use my auction method, which is to put them up for 1 week auction at that buy it now price. And all it really loses you is one listing, which if you've got plenty, that's usually not a problem. So I tend to put an auction up and then I'll put it at my buy it now price. That way if I get a bid, it sells right away. And I leave it for a week, and then you do have to remember to then switch it to a 30-day. So that is the cost of doing it this way. But it really solves the problem of when you don't have something to compare it to, or you don't know what the upper end is, it can really save you a headache. And I really hate when I sell something and I've got, it's been up for 5 minutes. And it happens to me still too, and I think I've got it nailed and it's only been up 5 minutes and it goes. But if I have any questions at all, I use this method. I put it up for 1 week at the higher price, and then if it doesn't sell, I relist it and forget it at the same price. So even if I just get one bid, I'm doing the same thing. So that's my tip, or that's how I do it. And I hope you guys have good luck this week, and I look forward to the next podcast. Thanks.
Yep. So we totally get that argument where if you have an item that is really weird and there isn't a lot of history to it, why not just try it at auction? I get that. I guess my thing is I'm still not into the whole, just do it as a regular strategy, because even in the past couple of weeks when we've tried auctions, it might be 1 out of 20 actually sell. And then it just becomes a problem of, like you said, there's that issue of then you have to make sure you grab those and then put them back into the store so they're active. And I don't know, I hear a lot of stories about people who get confused why they have a lot of items that aren't actually active in their store, they're in their inventory. And I think those are when those times when they get caught doing that. I think for us, it's more about being strategic. You know, we're pretty good at researching. Sorry, we're not pretty good. We're really good at researching stuff. You know, things will slip by, but for the most part, we're good at it, and we know when to price things and buy it now at a high price. But, you know, those things that are really, really strange and rare, I think auctions are an interesting way to try and solve that problem, you know?
Hi, got an issue. Don't know if you'll be able to help me with it or not, but I thought I'd run it by you. Maybe you can give me some ideas. We sell on eBay. We've been selling since like 2004, just a little bit of stuff here and there, nothing major. But then when I started listening to your podcast, I thought, I'd like to do it full time like that. Well, full time when I'm not working, that is. But we've had like 200 to 220 items in our eBay thing at one time. We've been selling really good, lots of stuff every day, selling something, not making millions or anything, but just a little extra money here and there. Then all of a sudden, it's kind of like the summer, the sales kind of just dropped off a little here, a little there, and I didn't think nothing about it. Well, now all of a sudden, we're like not selling hardly anything, maybe 1 or 2 items a week. We sell new things, used things, vintage things, chainsaw parts, just anything and everything that you can think of. And all of a sudden, it's just like, all of a sudden, no sales. I can't figure it out. We've got 100% positive feedback. I don't know. Is there anything that you can think of? Do people maybe just get tired of looking at the same stuff? We finally let everything drop off, and we haven't relisted anything yet so we can figure out what's going on, because all we're doing is paying relisting fees when nothing's being sold. So we've kind of let everything drop off so we can kind of try to figure out what to do. I don't know if you can help me or not, but I sure would appreciate if you could maybe give me some kind of an idea. Thanks anyway. Bye-bye.
So here's where you're at a fork in the road. If you say, the story is, I used to sell so much, things were selling every day, it was like hotcakes, and then suddenly everything hit the wall, and so this is your choice. You can go online, especially like in the eBay forums, and there's lots of people who you can be with who will tell you eBay's doing something to destroy your store.
Right.
You know, like eBay has seen you're being successful and they don't want you to be successful, so they shut your store down, and they have lots of theories about it. Sorry, not theories, because that's a proven thing. It's a
hypothesis.
It's a hypothesis about it. So, but the problem is with that time waste doesn't make sense, because number one, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help you sell more. It just helps you feel like you're failing because someone's doing it to you on purpose.
Right.
And I guess people like doing that. I don't know. It's not good for us. This is my suggestion. Number one is really start to look at your numbers.
Yes.
So during this time when things were really selling well and you're selling things all the time, like what are we really talking about?
What are the numbers?
Like there was a month where it was like that? Was it a year?
Right.
I mean, how much were you really selling every day? How much money were you making over what period of time? And then compare it to right now.
Right.
Like, and did you have more items in at your store then than did you have now? I mean, just really start to check out all those things. The other thing too is it sounds like you're selling all kinds of different things, and that's good. But you know, it is a marketplace too. I mean, sometimes you start to sell a certain kind of thing and they sell a lot, but then 6 months down the road they don't sell well because a lot of other people got into that its market. We talked about, you know, hats, trucker hats, you know, hipster hats. We were selling those like crazy for $30. Now it's hard to sell them for $15 because so many people sell those things. So all we can say is if you only have 200 items in at your store, I mean, that's good. It's not really a lot, though.
Yeah.
I mean, at 200 items, I would not expect a person to sell something every day at 200 items, unless they're super special or something. Right. But if it's just stuff you're finding at thrift stores, that's not a lot. I mean, we say 500 items.
Yeah, minimum.
I think when we hit 500 items, we actually always sold something almost every day.
I have to emphasize what Jay said because I am the worst at this. Like this week, I was like, we didn't make any money. Okay, and that's not true. We made $1,800. That's a really good week. But in my mind, I'm like, we sold all these low dollar items. We sold, not very many things every day. But when you average it out over the week, you're like, no, actually, this week was a great week. So there's your perception of what's happening. And then there's actually what's happening. So that's why a couple of years ago, we were like, we just need to start doing our numbers every single week. Because by the end of the week, we really need to know, was it really slow or was it average or was it a great week? So you should definitely start doing your numbers.
And you know what? There have been people who are like, my numbers are actually really down. Like I've really looked at the numbers and then I'm just like, I don't know what to tell people. I mean, why would it be true for one person and not another?
Right.
We go through slow periods. I remember a year ago, we had the worst. I mean, we had the same kind of stuff we have now.
Yeah.
Our summertime was horrible.
Really bad.
There were weeks where we were barely making $800.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was hard to know why. And all we could do was muscle through it.
You have to list.
And list more stuff.
Exactly.
And I don't know. So our thing is kind of an action-based, technique. And the other way is kind of like trying to find a reason why someone's hurting you. And when there's no evidence that that's true.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. My name's Tim. I'm in Newport Richey, Florida. I have a question for you. And I think Stephen Schultz knows the answer, but I have no way to test analog phones, the old dial-ups. I heard him mention that he found a way, but I didn't see what device he uses, and I've got phones sitting here that could be listed if I could test them. I mean, I could sell them as, not working, but the profit margin, we all know, would be better to know if it's working and sell it as working. So if you guys do know of how to test these old phones, if there's any apps and gadgets out there, I would love to know, as well as a couple other people I know. So I appreciate everything you guys do. Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
So, number one is I bet Steve Schultz knows, and maybe he'll pop up on the forum, or maybe he'll mention it in his video on Wednesday where he shows the things he sells. I just Googled it.
Yeah, I found it too. It's called the Cobra BT215, Bluetooth cell phone to home phone connection.
I also found one. It's a power sign ringing generator for $14 with free shipping.
Cool.
So, I think there's probably multiple things out there, and if you just Google it, you'll find those things that can send a signal into the phone. The other thing is, someone said on a forum that it's smart. Go to a person's house, a friend that actually has a phone line, and bring all of your phones and try it out. That's the cheapest way.
Absolutely.
That's super smart. Yeah.
If someone has a phone line, that's the way to do it. But
just bring a box of them.
That's true.
Take over a 6-pack of beer and just hang out
start
with
plugging those phones in.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. This is Brian from Illinois. So last week you were asking the question, why does eBay always seem to make these big changes in November or December, before the holidays? You were talking about the 3-day shipping guarantee, and why do they have to do it now? And I don't know if I really have the answer here, but I have an answer, I guess. I'm an IT person, so maybe I'm cynical about this, but in the company where I work, the business, you have two factions. You have the business people and you have the IT people. And the business people come up with these ideas like 3-day guaranteed shipping, and they want it implemented, but it takes time and resources, and the IT people, they have maintenance and upgrades, and they have a deployment schedule. And, the business, they don't want to wait till February to implement this thing. They want to do it now, because that's the prime time. They want that benefit. They're trying to compete with Amazon. I know you know that, but trying to compete with Amazon or Walmart online, all these other entities And so that's just the way it always seems to work out. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that. That some of these things that companies do are not like a logical thing. There's something, it's just how it's always been, or there's
Right.
a marketing / business team. They have these ideas versus the IT people. So I bet like the updates, I bet they get thought of back in March, and then they actually start getting implemented in November. Just because, if these are big changes that eBay does, and it doesn't take overnight to build. I mean, guys and gals are working on this all summer long,
Right.
and then they actually implement it. And then when they're implementing it, there's bugs, and it takes them a couple of months to work out all that stuff. So it is what it is. I don't know. I mean, It just seems like if they want to get it ready for Christmas, they should roll it out like August,
Right.
July,
Right.
like have a summer update instead of a fall update. So that way, by the time October comes, it should be rock solid.
It's working, yeah.
Hey, Scavenger Life, Tony Kaz here in Michigan. I was just listening to 191. I'm kind of binge listening as I work. I just found you guys. I'm an eBayer. I don't know that I'm a scavenger. I'm a garage sale buyer. I guess I am a scavenger. I look for anything that's valuable. I have an organizational tip for you that's very successful. Everything I buy gets and list, it has an eBay number. I take the last 3 digits of the eBay number, and I categorize all my for sale items by that numbering system. So if a number comes up as 132, is the last 3 numbers, I go to the 100s, to the 30s, 32, there it is. It confirmed it. That's a pair of wingtip shoes. That's it. Found it. And I found it just that quick. And that's that. If you want to find out more about that, I don't know there is much more. You just have to, you categorize them by the last 3 digits of the eBay number. Then you don't have to worry about what it is, whether it's a tin pot or a shoe or a bicycle handlebar, whatever. There it is. Thank you very. I love that. I love it. This Scavenger Life story is wonderful. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Yeah, so that's number one, Tony. I bet we'd be fast friends. You totally sound like a scavenger to me. We also find things that are of a value to wherever it goes. As far as the organizational tip, we've heard that from other people too.
Yes.
We actually know somebody who does that as well.
Yep.
The only issue is what happens if your items have to be ended and listed as new. And
then your item number changes.
That item number changes.
Or if you put something on auction, like we were just talking about, and then you relist it as buy it now, your item number, I believe, changes. So, so you have to make sure your inventory is updated. That's the only thing.
If it's been working for you, obviously, you've done it in a way where items have not had to get a new number. So that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys. This is Mick like Dagger. Love your show. Been listening to you guys since August. Got me to start more active on eBay. Got a small basic store with 500 listings. You got me motivated to try to get to 2,000 or 3,000 as quick as possible, so I can drop my current life as a corporate puppet for Megabank USA. Last week on your show, you talked about pre-owned socks not being allowed on eBay. Yeah, that's a thing because of all the crazy fetish people who want soiled socks. So they don't allow that on their site anymore, which I'm sure would go for used underwear as well. Got a question for you. I have come across an item which I had to get because it was an extremely great discounted rate. It's called an Aflo vest. It's a great device. People wear it to get. It gives them PT if they have cystic fibrosis or COPD, so it loosens up mucus in the lungs. But eBay has a policy where you can't sell medical items that require a prescription, and this is a prescription device. But I was able to get it relatively almost brand new for $250, and it retails for thousands upon thousands. So looking to know if there's any way that I could still sell it on eBay, where I only sell it to someone who's a licensed reseller, if there's anything like that, or if I'm really just taking my chances of them getting an ad knocked off. I had seen somebody previously list a similar item. They got a $1,500 bid, and then eBay promptly pulled down the listing. So I'm not sure if there's a way. I know there's a way around it for items that you call vintage devices and not for use, but not something that is an actual medical product. So if you have any answers on that would be outstanding. Again, love the show. Great to find some kindred spirits out there. Thank you. Have a good day.
I mean, there's no way around it.
Yeah, I mean, we, like our friend, it's Mikey, would sometimes find this medical stuff at a yard sales. You know, what you can do is sell it on Craigslist.
I'm pretty sure you could sell it on Craigslist.
Yeah, I mean, you can just sell it between people. You know, I mean, I'm not saying go for it, but, you know, I guess the danger is when you sell a medical device that needs a prescription, the person buying it might not be educated enough to actually operate it correctly. Like, I think Mikey one time sold one of those things where it shocks your, like, chest.
Oh, it's
or whatever, you know?
What's it called? A defibrillator?
Yeah.
Or is that what it's called?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you know, but if you think you can find someone to buy it, why not? Just eBay, they don't want to be liable for it, because obviously someone's like, I bought this thing off of eBay and I killed myself or whatever. I killed my mom with it, you know?
Yeah. They have to be careful about that stuff.
Hi guys, it's Kara from Lexington, Kentucky, and I was calling because I had a weird interaction today with a customer. I sent them a message because they hadn't paid or I hadn't received funds, and it had been about 2 days, and so I just sent them a quick message to say, hey, thanks for your purchase. If you could pay for the item, that'd be awesome so I can get it shipped out. And they messaged me back and said, I paid 2 days ago. And so I went on to my Seller Hub, and it was still listed under items awaiting payment. But there was a place where I could click on the PayPal history or PayPal transaction, and I did, and she paid with an e-check, which I've never had happen before. And it said that it took a couple days to process. So I didn't know if anyone had ever had any issues with that before, but it looks like she's paid. I just haven't received the funds yet, so I'm going to wait until those clear to send the item. My other question is, I am moving, and I have a store with about 600 items in it and probably just as many items that I still have yet to list. And fortunately, it's just down the road, and we're going to have a lot more storage, but the neighborhood has had a lot of theft from mailboxes and porches with packages. So I didn't know if there was a way to get some kind of locker to put on a porch to stick items in, and with the mail person to have access to that, or if anyone had had a similar issue. I could run them to the post office each day, but you know, that kind of is a little bit of a pain. So it would be great if they could still continue to pick them up off my porch. That is all. Thanks so much for all that you do. Bye.
Well, it says that she paid with an e-check, so that's going to take a few days to process.
Yeah, so if it was paid is with an e-check, that means that it's through their bank, and it can take 3 days to a week to actually clear.
Right.
And the person who pays with an e-check should know that, but you can just tell them
Sometimes
that.
people don't realize it. If they don't have enough money in their PayPal account, it just automatically defaults to pulling it out of your checking account.
But you don't have to bug them anymore about paying because they have paid, so he or she had been correct. It's just that payment is going to take a while to clear.
Yeah, it gets a little confusing if they don't send you a note like, this e-check's waiting to clear. I do believe PayPal sends that to you, but they might not have, or it was slow.
And then the second question was, in your new home, should you or can you get like a box that has a key on it? That's something to ask the post office.
Yeah.
I think I've seen people have those, but then it's like, how do you get that key to the
your carrier?
Postal carrier? And then what happens if like there's a substitute carrier? How do they get the key, you know?
Right, so it's a little bit... Yeah, I mean, you should talk to your post office and figure that out. I've also heard of some people having like security cameras on their porch so that they can see, you would deter someone, hopefully, if you're like, there's a camera right here, if
Yeah.
you're trying to take
Like,
this
and what
stuff.
if you had a sign on the front porch like, hello, we're watching you.
Right, I mean,
and there's like 2 cameras
you
right
really
there.
could do that, and there are cheap, security cameras that people put up now.
I often wonder too, when people say porch, like when I grew up in an urban area, we had a porch, but it was like wide open.
Just
it was just
open,
like
yeah.
a covered porch with a concrete slab where
Right.
anyone could see. Well, what if you had a porch that had like some protection where
Right.
stuff is on there, but you can't really
see it.
So.
And if your flag is up on your mailbox, people are just assuming you have a letter in the mailbox, not like packages, maybe.
But if other people who live in urban areas that, have stuff picked up, but you're worried about it being stolen, we'd love to hear your ideas.
Hey guys, this is Kyle in Oregon. I had an interesting experience here the other day. We'd set up my 14-year-old with an account, and he's been selling Nike shoes. Since we're in Oregon, he's able to get them fairly cheap and resell them. And he's only got a few items up, but he's been doing pretty good. So with the new account, he's only got a couple feedback, and normally, a negative feedback or something like that isn't a big deal when you've got a whole bunch already or been selling for a while. However, when you've got 3 or 4 feedback and one of them's a neutral and one of them's a negative, it makes kind of a big deal. He had sold a pair of shoes or a sweatshirt or something like that to somebody, and their feedback was everything was fine and it was neutral. Okay, well, whatever. And then here a couple of weeks ago, he sold a pair of shoes to somebody. He had listed them with economy shipping, and the date was, the buyer could see the estimated delivery date on it and all that stuff that they can see. And anyhow, when he shipped them, within a day of the sale, they were in process, had a tracking number. After a week or so, I think it was, he got a message saying, you should have used USPS. It's saying it's going to take like 2 weeks, a couple of weeks to get here. That's way too long. A couple of days later, he got another one where the guy said, bro, this took too long to get here. This is ridiculous. Use the F word in it, using profanity. And he said, I'm going to leave negative feedback because it took so long to get here. So when I looked at it, I had noticed that, I made sure that it was listed with the economy shipping, and it was also, they can see, it'll tell the buyer, your estimated delivery date is this time. I looked it up, the tracking showed it actually got there about a week before it was estimated to be there. So the buyer could see all of this. I mean, their responsibility to look at it and buy it. So I called eBay. To my surprise, got the American call center, which on my account, I always get the one in the Philippines or wherever they're at. Rep asked me what the situation was and explained it to him, and he said, I'm very sorry about that. He read the messages. Anyhow, the eBay rep says, okay, we'll take a look at it. We'll report the buyer for the profanity use in the message and the threatening manner that it was in. And then I asked if he could remove the feedback. So he puts me on hold and has to go check with somebody, and then he comes back and he says, well, unfortunately, we can't remove the feedback. And the feedback said shipping was way too slow. Seller didn't respond to my message. The message he was referring to was obviously the one where he was threatening and using profanity, and he never even actually asked a question. He was just saying, this was too slow. I'm going to leave negative feedback. So the reason that they would not remove the feedback was because the buyer's opinion was that we didn't respond to his message. And although if he just said that the shipping was too slow, they would have removed it. However, because he sent the message cussing and threatening, and we didn't reply to that when there was no actual question in it, they said that it was a fact that we did not reply to his message, and for that, they would not remove the feedback. I have to speak to a supervisor. She got on the line and had already been briefed on what the situation was. Refused to remove it as well. Whole thing is completely ridiculous. So anyhow, we had them escalated for another reason as far as buyer's responsibilities and things like that. There was a whole other process for that, and it was just absolutely ridiculous. a lot of good things from eBay, but a lot of ridiculous things. And I was very surprised to see that coming from the American call center as well. So sometimes it doesn't pay to have the American call center versus the overseas one. And at this point, we're not even sure we can call back. There's been enough of it documented that my experience in the past is that they'll just refer back to their notes and stay with whatever the last person said, regardless of how ridiculous it was. Or you have to start all over like they don't know that you've ever called in the first place. So anyhow, just thought I'd share that with you, and love what you guys do. Keep it up and have good holidays.
Okay, so that does stink. But the good thing is, like you said, the more sales that he makes, the more feedback is going to kind of, drown out the, neutral.
I mean, sometimes these things happen. It sounds like you just got a rep who just disagreed with you.
Right.
It's like you said, call back and you'll get a rep who does agree.
Hopefully.
With you. We also don't respond to people that write us and they aren't saying anything. So if they're not asking a question, if they're just kind of making a statement that doesn't have to do with anything.
Especially if they're swearing at you.
Yeah, we don't have to respond to that. So
the other thing too is that's unfortunate is that he chose economy shipping. I don't actually. You didn't say if there was expedited shipping on the shoes or not as a choice, but the person did choose economy shipping, and like you said, they saw that it was economy shipping. So it's not like
and did the item get there in time?
Yeah, he said it got there a week before it was estimated.
So I don't understand why eBay wouldn't side with him, because the buyer's opinion is just incorrect. Like, they may be upset it took a long time, but
it took a week or something.
According to what they were told by eBay, it was shipped on time or earlier.
Yeah, I would say go back and look at your shipping time, estimated shipping time versus like the delivery time, and that's a good argument to make. Like, look, this shipped, it got there on time, just as the economy shipping said it would, et cetera, et cetera. So
I personally wouldn't waste too much time on it.
It's a lot of work.
Call one more time, have it a shot, and then just focus on listing.
Hey, this is Jamie in Indiana. Thanks for your show. Love it. Just wanted to touch on a couple things. I changed over from Android to Apple about 6 or 7 months ago, and the main difference I saw was in Android, when I was using the phone to list, I could not, I would have to select one photo at a time and go back to the listing. It was pretty annoying. With the Apple phone, I can select, up to 12 photos and they instantly go in. So I thought that was a big thing for me. Also, I had a friend who, I went and watched his process of, shipping, a number of, I don't know, a dozen or two items out in a day. And he had an auto tape machine that a family member had retired and given him. And, it was pretty slick. It would just hit a button and it would come out and it would wet the tape and it would come out to whatever size he wanted it to be. And it was very heavy duty, tape. And I think it was very cheap. And, I've looked into it. A couple of them online are used, a couple $100. So, might be something to look into if you're having trouble with, taping things for arthritis or just, everything else. Okay. Thanks. That's it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've never used an Android, so I don't know the difference. I know there's a lot of people that list on Android versus Apple. But, however, a lot of people's process is to take pictures in the app so that you don't have to store hundreds of thousands of photos or offload photos off your camera. Because the great thing about just taking a picture in the eBay app is it's like a temporary photo used by the app, and then it's not stored on your phone, which is kind of great.
And it's interesting, we were totally not really against that, but we didn't really think of that for a long time. We would take photos with a nice camera
Digital
and we
SLR.
would, have them on a hard drive, and then we would upload them to eBay.
And I would archive them in folders.
Finally, people just convinced us, just take your phone. Phones have really great cameras now, and you can basically take pictures, and they automatically upload to eBay, and it's great.
I love that process. Yeah. But it is cool that you said you can upload 12 at once on the Apple app. I would think that the Android app should do that too. I'm not sure why it doesn't. Maybe there's a way to do it that people know about that we don't know about. And I would love it if they shared that. Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out the blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video showing what sold and how much it sold for, currently being brought to you by Stephen Schultz. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. You can rent one of our vacation rentals. Right now we have openings for the winter. It's still beautiful here. There's been great weather. So if you want to come, check out our area. The link to our rentals is on the sidebar. Okay, we are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.